Potter's Journal, my second 2018 glaze review. But first, what is locked? Secret project is locked. In the studio today, I've been working on something I haven't revealed, covered here and here. I'll be out of the studio now for several months, but I'll start uploading and revealing some of what's happened here. And maybe we got a hint of it there. It was a long, boring, slow start to the winter, although a challenge, to create the slick, clean-looking, simply made dinnerware set. But when I didn't put the glaze through a fine enough sieve, and I had to redo it because of the little specks, that made a big project draw it into a nightmare. So I was real happy this year then to do some different stuff and even take some things I did last year, the double bowl, and do it in some different forms. And use some of the glaze combinations that worked last year and try some new ones. But I needed something that would work over slips. So, yeah, coming up with what I'm calling a celadon here was a major accomplishment. And that's what we're going to be looking at in the kiln today. I also took these double bowls, which was my very first YouTube pot last year, and made them in a small, we like the price size, and as large as a punch bowl, and even low flat ones. It could be, depending on who you talk to. A pasta bowl. See more of that secret project covered up over here. And before we look in the kiln, yeah, the question sometimes is, why aren't these commercial glazes working the way their samples are? And I think, yeah, this needs looked at again, but this was the feature of yesterday's clip. Here it is on a light clay body, sea mist on the inside and tops, and snow on brick from Standard Ceramics on the bottom over a slip, light cone 6 stoneware clay, a dark one, a specked one, an overfired reclaimed clay. But some of what's happening here is what I want to get to work for me, because I said this looks like things I pulled out of a salt kiln. You can do things with a cone 6 oxidation kiln. Here it is on an old stoneware body that I don't know what it is, but probably should have been fired to a higher temperature. And the way they mean for it to be more of a creamy mocha, I use it thin and allow it to break. But the firing, it was a little touchy on the firing and needed a precise firing schedule, which can change or is different from kiln to kiln, and even with the age of a kiln, depending on the elements and how long a firing takes. But once again, cone 6 oxidation. A challenge to make it work for you, to get something you like out of it. I've been working on Potter's Journal, keeping notes, because I was having some pinholing, and I do have a firing schedule now that seems to be hopefully the answer to keep to. But after taking notes on half a dozen, finally came up with something that works. Okay, so what is in the kiln today? It is, okay, what I'm calling my celadon. I needed something that would work over slip. This is hot today. This is the end of my winter production. Oh, this was the story too, since we were reviewing the sea mist and the snow on brick. This was a rush special order, the orchid pots, and it looks like these turned out fine. I forgot to put them in the kiln last time, and that's what we were firing it for. But all right. Oh, yeah. So This was what I'm calling my celadon here was two commercial glazes blended together. There was a green ivy from Standard that was a little too greeny for me. And my suspicion was that they made it from their clear, so I put a quarter of clear into it. Oh, okay. And my grape leaf weights. Yeah. I put them up on stilts because in this part of the world, if it's not glazed, people think you can't use it. But they would just flatten the stilts, and that's, you know, a $4 stilt. So I put them on these pegs, but I think I did it just on the ends, and I think it looks like, yeah, it looks like it warped, or, you know what, it hit and touched and stuck to the shelf. It might have been that I didn't put it fully on the peg, and it slipped off. So, okay, I don't have the answer there, except for next year, the first thing I do when I get back in the studio will be to have to clean the shelves, because I didn't do that this year. Okay, and yeah, the double bowls with the slips in them. I've never done those spirally things. People seem to like that. Watching them spin around. I usually do more the wavy pattern from the Pennsylvania yellow redware slip decorating. And I don't know where these bowls came from. They say 2014, but I don't know that I was making. Okay, in my double bowls with the rooster. Okay, yeah, the end of this year's winter production, second glaze review. I might do another one. Maybe I'll take a look at the pots I've made this year. Okay, and yeah, my celadon again over the slip. This was something I needed. I really like doing the drawing through the slip, and I needed a glaze that would let it show through. That of the glazes I had mixed up years ago, I didn't have one, and of the commercial glazes I tried, I didn't have one. So we're set now on that. And okay. I only glazed I glazed the lip, which these would have been nice on a flower pot to stack them, you know, like that. But when I loaded the kiln, did realize, because I only glazed the lip, I was able to stack the smaller size orchid pot right inside the larger one. So if I do flower pots, I'll have to do 3 sizes or so you can stack one inside the other. So not a lot here, except for the accomplishment of, of getting now having a glaze that will let the slips and the drawing show through. Okay, and some new forms on the double balls. So, and this guy, we'll have to figure out what happened to him. In addition to the slips, this glaze is working real well with the textures and pulling nicely in there and showing off the throw ribs. So one of my accomplishments for glaze on 2018. I only have 3 months really to put into studio time, so I'd like to have all my own glazes, but the real world calls me back. My greenhouse and nursery, boxes of plants that were potted up. I made it through the winter. There's 3 sticks after a long cold winter, 3 sticks of firewood left. I'm starting to do some shows. Last year this time, I think we were looking at the dogwoods in bloom. It's now the 1st of May. But this year there's not a leaf or a flower on the tree. But some more of the Celadon glaze and what it's done for me. Pulling nicely in the ridge on this baker, something I might turn into alter the design and make into a bread crock next year. And on the pie plates. This was my opening clip for 2018. I've really not noticed anybody else doing the pie plates with the narrow fluting. They mostly all use the very wide. And the glaze, the slip and the drawing. I found that the slip does have to be thick enough. It's kind of burnt out a bit there. And use thicker. Okay, shows off the drawing a little bit better. And it's also been fun to use the pie plates in the wood oven at the historic village. I hope to do that again this year, or maybe the bread crock. But I think this was, a big thing of the 2018 production schedule, to do the folk art drawings on these small shallow bowls that could also be used as little bakers. Although here with the slip and the Celadon glaze, kind of reminiscent of Pennsylvania redware and the yellow slips. Okay, the English hare. And I've been looking at a lot of English slipware too. This is something I need to take note of here. This is something that I'd like to pick up on next year. The elk, or is it a reindeer? And the fish. So, looking forward to next year getting back into the studio in the summer. I'll grab clay anytime I can. Visiting a show, working with my pottery apprentice. Let's see, where's that pocket at? These things have 3 pockets. My historic village, volunteering, but I have kind of hidden away some of the special project I started, and we'll be uncovering that soon. I'm going to lock up the studio now, and we'll let that secret out soon, but I'll say stop back and see what's been hidden away in the studio and what happens in and out this summer. Okay, stop back.